Yeah, absolutely. I think this is fundamental to actually the change we're having at the moment, which is that, for better or worse, we used to all be sitting in offices
Mm.
with walls and doors around us, and there used to be a big firewall that was, quite expensive for small businesses, that used to protect all the traffic that went in and out of the business, and it pretty blunt instruments for protecting the environment, but they did a job. The
Yeah.
data you could almost assume was in that office somewhere. And people weren't taking it out of the office a lot of the time. Now that's changed a bit over the years because people have laptops they take home in the evenings. But
Mm.
as a whole, a lot of the work was happening in the offices. So that's changed for almost every business overnight. And what's happening now is data is fundamentally everywhere. And
Yeah.
the systems that have been put in place to facilitate the working of the businesses and keeping the businesses going, they're great for keeping the businesses going, but they're awful for controlling your data and keeping them where they are. So they've also bypassed a lot of the old security
Mm.
pieces that businesses had in place. So, firewalls, but also the control that people used to have over these devices used to be pretty much controlled by the server or the system
Yeah.
within the office. So that would apply your policies, it would apply your updates, it would apply the standardization, it would enforce your security elements. And now this laptops are all over the world or
Mm.
all over the country getting none of this protection anymore that they used to have. They're getting increasingly out of date because they're not updating. They're increasingly not getting patched or getting given policies. So what's fundamental is that we gain control back of these devices so that the organization, big or small, can retain control of its data. Enforce encryption, for example, across all of your
Yeah.
devices. These laptops, it takes 30 seconds to reset a password on a Microsoft device if it's not encrypted. And that's
Yeah.
your data gone. And because your users are all over the place, then that you've got very little chance of wiping your laptops or removing that data from these devices when they're gone. Um, I think fundamentally what we need to do is think of it as moving the point of protection from that
Mm.
firewall and those walls
Yeah.
out to the laptops. So the
Yeah.
laptops become your external point of protection, and
Okay.
that's why you need to have robust endpoint security on the devices. And I use the word endpoint security rather than antivirus or the classic kind of things, because it has changed a little bit what you need to
Mm.
be able to do. Antivirus was very quite simplistic in what it did.
Yeah.
Endpoint protection nowadays is much more robust. It does a number of other things other than just look for anti emails. It will do things like web control what people do on the line. It'll look at downloading, what they download, and scan the data before it gets downloaded now as well. Um,
Yeah.
it'll look into their emails and do some email protection on it. It'll look for heuristics, which effectively
Okay.
means it'll look for odd behavior on the laptop.
Mm. Mm.
There's lots of other things it'll do now with endpoint protection. So a robust endpoint protection piece is really important. And then
Yeah.
control. So some kind of the term MDM, which is mobile device management platform, to control those devices so that you as an organization can really be sure that you can enforce the policies. There's no
Yeah.
point having policies. You might write them down, you might not. A lot of small businesses don't have them written down, but once you have these things written down and you've made decisions about how you're going to protect your security, you need to enforce these things, because
Okay.
users will always find the easiest way around um, uh, to work. Okay, in a good way, they'll want to work. They'll want to be as efficient as possible, and sometimes that is the not necessarily the most secure way. So, you want to make sure you're forcing the laptops to update on a monthly
Yeah.
basis. You want to make sure you're enforcing, the password policies and the password procedures, that you're enforcing what data can be stored on what device and when. And that's across all devices: tablets, mobiles, laptops, desktops if you've got them at home. And then you need to do the same thing for bring your own devices, because that's a big thing that's happened recently. People have, in the urgency to work at home, where small businesses haven't been able to afford maybe PCs and stuff, they've
Mm.
relied on people having their own devices at home. And that's dangerous. These laptops may have children, other families, other members using them. There's no guarantee what antivirus, what security is on these. So you need to have a robust bring your own device policy, and it needs to be enforced. And that can be as simple as making sure that the antivirus on these devices is up to date, and that you have some element of control on the data on it.
Yeah.
And the systems are there within the kind of classic systems that most small businesses have: Office 365, Google, Gmail, G Suite. All these kind of things have got some pretty good mobile device management built into them. It just needs implementing and understanding.